But we don't show prep, so he had no idea.
I just barely make it in.
I'm sure you can tell, but we don't show.
I mean, let's put the cards down on the table here.
Miami Hurricanes, yeah. You know the name already. It's Mercy. Ha ha. It's a 6-ring Kane show. Can't forget the name though. Got Jazz, Blue, Vision, DJ break the game code. Ain't no changing them, ain't no breaking them. Real Portland live from the Hard Rock Stadium. Ball 14 for the orange and green. We see the 6-ring champs. It's more than a dream. This is life on the field. Beyond 100 yards, a hurricane that's never still put a damage to your squad. The 6-ring Kane show. The 6-ring Kane show. The 6 Rings Kane show. You know.
What's wrong with us? Seriously.
What's wrong with us? We're Miami Hurricanes fans.
Welcome to the 6 Rings Kane Show, a show dedicated to Miami Hurricane sports, featuring the legendary Larry Bluestein, Jazz Santana, Vish, and Danny Gillette. Let's go Canes.
Buenas noches, everybody. We are back at it. Back here on the 6 Rings Kane show on our honestly, it's game week for a lot of reasons other than football. It's opening weekend for Miami Hurricanes baseball, and if you weren't able to catch the show on Saturday morning, we had a really cool show. We had first baseman Todd Hudson on the show, closer Jackson Cleveland, and starting right fielder Derek Williams, all transfer portal guys. Derek Williams from Wichita State, Jackson Cleveland from up north in Lamar University up north in North Beaumont, Texas.
In Beaumont, yes.
And then Todd Hudson. You'll get the joke if you guys watch the show.
You had to be there.
You had to be there. And then Todd Hudson coming over from Liberty. Some really awesome young guys that I think are gonna be key contributors to this team. What could potentially be a really good team on offense. The defense, the pitching is yet to be determined. Although, from the looks of it, I've been able to go to a couple of practices and whatnot, and they look like they've got some live arms. They've got some young arms. They've got some older arms as well. So a little combination of both old and vet arms. So. It's just a matter of to see if they can put it together. So be excited to watch some baseball coming up. They do play Niagara this weekend, starting on Valentine's Day. So if you can get out there and watch some baseball, Vish will be out there. I'm unfortunately out of town for work, but Vish and some of the other crew, I'm sure you'll be able to catch them there this weekend. So check it out. But yeah, as I mentioned, if you didn't watch it earlier, you can go back and watch it now. It's still pretty relevant. So it's a pretty funny show, pretty fun show. We did it at the Hurricane Team Store as well, across the street from campus. So nice little atmosphere there. And then a good segue, we got to see some of the transfer portal football players walk in as they were doing a signing at the Team Store as well. So see, the perfect segue to football there, Vish. You see how I do this?
Yes.
And if you have, by the way, if you have noticed, this is the brand new hat this year that we'll be sporting. Miami baseball from one of their new uniforms. It's like a cream uniform.
I like beautiful.
It's got a little gold outline. So this doesn't necessarily like the uniform too much because it screams Notre Dame a little bit to him. But
It says Canes in green, and then it's gold outlines. It is
But Jeremy with something to do with
No orange anywhere. Just...
Yeah,
on the sleeves. On the sleeve, there's some kind of gold thing that Adidas is doing with all their schools, and
like the gold.
Which for other school, unfortunate color for us.
They're nice. They are nice uniforms, but I totally get what he's saying. But go check it out. It's a really nice hat, and they've got some really cool gear there as well. So
a lot of baseball gear. They got their baseball stuff in for the season. So if you're looking to pick up some baseball merch, head over there.
Yeah, and if you want a discount on basketball stuff, it isn't on discount yet. So
I know. I was annoyed. I was like, "This is my time to clean up," and then no, it's still full price.
Oh,
you're still getting basketball stuff in because you order. Sure, people are aware retailers. They don't overnight ship in orders, right? So they plan months in advance, and this is typically when basketball season is really, really heating up, and so you want the merch to show up now. So yeah, they just got a load of new basketball merch in store as well. Although the Black History Month jersey is nice, they do have that in every size you can think of. So so definitely go out there and check that out. Pick one of those up.
Make sure you check it out. But yeah, I mean, look. Speaking of the players, they had Zechariah Poyser come in, Chuck Brantley, as he likes to be called, not Charles Brantley, he likes to be called Chuck.
Yes.
He introduced himself to us as Chuck Brantley, and Emmanuel Carnley. All transfer portal guys. I'll tell you this, Vish and Blue and DJ. I know Blue has seen them all live in person, seen what they look like. The one that the most physically imposing, the guy that I look at and I see day one right off the bat is Zechariah Poyser. That's a big kid, man. That's a big kid. He's strong. He's big. He's well built for a safety. He's got some muscle on him. Like he's a big kid. He's all of what, 6'1", Vish, more or less. He's about your height, more or less, right?
Yeah, it's about that.
Yeah, it's about your height. Now the kid that looks tiny is Chuck Brantley.
So wait, I gotta stop you because Jackson Cleveland's mom is roasting you in the chat for the North Beaumont. So just
I love Jackson. Look, listen, Miss Kristen, thank you so much for roasting me a little bit. I appreciate that. But if you hear us talking, off air, I talk to Vish a lot about it. I love Jackson. He's my boy. He's probably my favorite guy on that pitching staff. So it's funny that I totally got his whereabouts wrong where he was at before. As far as the city, Lamar, I got the school right. Anything is north from here. Okay, come on, let's keep it real here. But I appreciate that. Thanks for shouting out and watching the show a little bit. But we love Jackson. I think he's gonna have a great season. He's a good kid, and I look forward to his success. That's funny.
That's good. Lamar's got some good baseball in the past.
Yeah, I gave Jazz a little history lesson on it because it's very, it's a big program in Texas, which is where I was born.
Yeah. Well,
so it's kind of
former Miami Marlin, current American Heritage Plantation AD Bruce Avon. There's a name from Lamar. Played with the Marlins back in the day, and he's the athletic director.
That's cool. Look at that, a little blast in the past. Oh, he loves Miami, and we feel so privileged to be a part of it. Yeah, we feel the same way. We're excited to have him on. We're excited and I saw that he got the alumni out. 1, 2, 3. He struck out all 3 guys. So he redeemed himself a little bit from the Derek Williams thing. Okay. Oh man, good kid. Look at that, 44-15. I didn't know.
So I'm saying they're a regional team pretty much every year.
Yeah, they're good. They're always pretty good.
Yeah,
good program. Good. So, I mean, look, that's what you need. Sometimes you need to get. The transfer portal is here to stay. It's not going to go anywhere. You need to get good players from good schools. Bottom line, right? Liberty, a pretty decent school as well, where Todd Hudson came from. But Lamar posted a 44-15 record last year. That's a solid record. I don't care where you're at, what division, what conference you play in. Baseball's baseball, man. Baseball's tough, especially in the state of Texas, right? That's some of the best place baseball in the country is played in that state. So, getting a kid like Jackson over to play for the Hurricanes and be such an integral part of that rotation or slash bullpen staff. I think it's going to be huge. So yeah, I'm really happy to see him play. I keep talking about him all the time. So Vish knows and everybody knows I like Jackson. He's a good kid. So I got to bust his chops a little bit, but he's a good kid. So love it. Speaking of good kids, to be honest with you, like all three of those kids that we saw, football guys, were very respectable, very nice guys. All introduced themselves to us. We saw some of the older cats too. We saw Wesley Basaint and Malik Bryant walk through the door earlier too. And so, it's funny, man. You see all these guys, they hang out together, all that stuff. I did mention that Chuck Brantley is small. It's a little guy. He is small, right? I don't know, Vish, if you realize that. Blue, you've seen him up close. It doesn't mean he's not a Wolverine out there, right? Like, it doesn't mean he's not a little honey badger, but the kid's small. Looks like he's probably going to be playing something he's probably going to be playing a nickel, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Well, you know what? He's extremely athletic, great football player. Right. You've seen smaller DBs in the past, and what they bring to the table as far as their athleticism. And you look at Terrell Buckley, former Florida State University, smallish, 5'7" type of guy, but his wingspan was crazy. His vertical was in the 40, 41 range. But if you could play football, obviously it's a little tougher in the bigger leagues like ACC, or actually Power 4 to be exact, because you have 6'3", 6'4" receivers, right. Wide body guys, 210, 215, 220. But if you could play the game and you're a good cover player, and like I agree with you, if they have somebody to play that island corner, you're gonna see him shift over to maybe a nickel position. And
by the way, that's not a knock. It's not a knock. I mean, he did it. Oh? He did it really well at Michigan State, right? Which is a big school, big conference, big school. So he did it really well there. He was ranked high, and he's a solid corner. But he's on the smaller end, right? He's a smaller kid. So he's gonna have to do other things really well as well.
Well, if you look at the Super Bowl last night, you see that the secondaries are not all 6 foot to 100 guys. I mean, like you said, you have a Brantley type of guy, but then all of a sudden you come up with a safety who's 6'1.5" and 210, 212, more physical type of player. So, yeah. I mean, and it's just like I say with the wide receiver position, not everybody can, Restrepo's a perfect example. Not everybody's going to spread the field and take every ball 75 yards. You have role players, and same thing on defense. The only thing, and I think we went over this a lot, is that everything revolves around what you bring up front in the front seven. So last year, and I still it wasn't the greatest secondary in the world, but I don't think that the negativity would be as compounded if they had a front seven that was more consistent and gave the quarterback less time and, made him throw on the run and made him, instead of be able to go through progressions, maybe cut down his progressions to maybe 2 instead of having, have a day out back there to kind of look off every position. And that, listen, even the best secondary guys, even guys who stick in your pocket, are going to kind of look a little vulnerable when they're given an opportunity to have more time to run their patterns and to fully develop into their patterns, which kind of takes a toll on the secondary. But having him back there, and who's going to be definitely somebody, Poyser, as you mentioned, a couple of the other additions.
Carney was a little thin, but a big kid, long and lanky kid, maybe about 5'10", 5'11", a little bit taller, maybe 6 feet almost. He's a lanky kid, but he looks like a kid that could come in and put some pressure on that position. And by the way, Blue, just what you just mentioned about our DBs, our starting DBs by the second or third game were out for the rest of the season, right? DeMar, now we didn't see him again. Jadaeus Richard hurt his knee, he was out. So not to say that Porter, we hadn't seen a lot of Porter before. We thought that he was going to be the guy. You had to bring in a freshman in OJ, who wasn't a freshman All-American, but he kind of had his breakdowns later on at the end of the season, which is going to happen. Or look what happened last night, right? I mean, Kansas City probably has some of the best corners in the NFL, and if you give him enough time, Devontae, I don't care who it is, but if a guy like Devontae Smith gets a little bit on you, look what he was able to do.
Right.
So and it happens with everybody. So, but like you mentioned, you got to get pressure in that front four, that front seven is important for sure. I agree. That's kind of just a little bit about what happened this weekend. Vish, I know, had some stuff going on this weekend as well with Buckets. He was out at the alumni game. Was able to see some of that. But right now, Miami Hurricanes sports are kind of firing on all cylinders with the exception.
I guess the other thing that happened football related is they brought Terry Jefferson back.
Yes.
And
you saw how excited Poyser was about that.
Yeah, because that was this guy at Jacksonville State. So yeah, and we talked DJ, I think it was just DJ and I last week when we were talking about there's definitely more defensive coaches showing up because as of last week's show, 3 coaches on the defensive side of the ball is all they had. So more to come there as they fill the staff out because it's definitely not fully done yet.
Blue, are you hearing anything as far as linebacker coaches, defensive line coaches? Is your buddy Jason Taylor going to stay? Are we hearing anything on any potential there? And by the way, shout out to Clint Hurt, Joe Panunzio, and
Stoutland,
Jeff Stoutland for winning another ring with the Philadelphia Eagles, all coaching over there in the Philadelphia Eagles.
To be honest, I haven't really heard anybody, but I can, because I wasn't in last week when you guys were talking about Terry. Terry's a Booker T. Washington guy. I remember he was here before as an analyst, so he kind of got his feet wet. Very intelligent guy. I mean, and a great football player. Just a little undersized, and that's why he ended up, I believe, at Florida A&M. He probably could have played, a dozen different positions. Or at larger schools is just a little bit undersized. But as far as being smart, knowing the game, listen, I mean, he is just a great addition. Not somebody, that, he's just an add-on type of guy, even though he's not a coach per se, in there, as far as what he's listed as, he still is on the field.
Right.
And he has
isn't he coming in as a DB coach?
No, he's coming in as a different role. Darn it.
I thought he was a cornerbacks coach, if I'm not mistaken. Just a cornerbacks.
Okay. I just thought it was a different role that I was reading. But
I never know with these guys.
But but having him in, and as you said, the emphasis on getting defensive personnel over the next couple of weeks, it's going to have to happen quick because obviously the kids are on campus and they're working now. And so at least you want to have a position coach there to at least start, going over, schemes and what films to watch. And, hey, this is what we did at wherever. So, yeah, I think they're going to make some additions. To answer your question, I've heard, that Jason Taylor pretty much is going to be, be here. But like you say, anything could change. Certainly an opportunity for Miami, as you mentioned, to have some visitors down there and to have the guys that came in early. It's a big plus. And I've said it over and over again, this early graduation and opportunity during January to put more emphasis on a football program certainly helped Miami last year in a number of positions. And I think it's going to do it again this year. Mainly, we talked about quarterback. I mean, quarterback's a big question mark at Miami. You brought in Carson Beck, but we won't see him until the first snap in August. So as far as in any real action. So, I haven't. Did they have other kids down there this weekend? Someone said they had a few kids down there. I don't.
I'm not sure. I know some kids locked in some visits, but actually, I want to kind of bring something up that was just mentioned a couple hours ago, actually 2 hours ago, that Josina Anderson tweeted. Vish, your boys over in Dallas got another hurricane. Ken Dorsey is going to be an analyst.
A hurricane, not another.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he might. I guess he's the only one, right? A hurricane. It looks like he's an offensive analyst over there. He's gonna scheme and watch some film and whatnot. So maybe that might help you guys out a little bit. Wishful thinking for you, Bish.
No, it's a lost cause.
You know,
Nothing changes until Jerry goes.
I mean, listen, Kellen Moore just won a Super Bowl, right?
Yep.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, because he got out of.
Because he got out of
No, his last. This is a true story. The last snap he had as Cowboys offensive coordinator, he lined up Ezekiel Elliott at center.
Yeah.
And he snapped the ball as trying to run a trick play, and the 49ers just blew him up because they're like, that guy's too small to play center, and the whole play imploded because
Good time.
Because that's what happens when you get to Dallas. So,
oh man, don't even get me started. Yeah, I haven't heard too much about. I know there was as I mentioned, a kid that locked in a visit. A Georgia, looks like a Georgia kid, an edge. I don't know his name, but I know there's going to be a lot of players that are out there that are getting ready to come and visit Miami, especially with Junior Day coming up. Junior Day is coming up. You've got spring. Spring ball starts March 3rd, and the spring game is April, what is it, the 14th, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Are they still having one?
Yeah. So it's funny you mentioned that because they're doing the same day that they're doing it. I believe Kings baseball plays Florida State that night, right? Is that what
wow.
I'm saying? So it's a great day for for Hurricane sports there because you've got the scrimmage right on campus.
Oh, again?
Head right over to the Miami FSU game because it is a home game. So that'll be a cool little weekend there.
Wow. Yeah.
And a lot of things going on.
Yeah, the FSU baseball series is a Thursday to Saturday thing. So,
yeah. So it'll be that Saturday. Yeah,
yep.
That's interesting. Shout out to Danny Berry. Rock and Rant are in the chat as well.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit when we talk about the over-under and stuff, what Rock and Rant brought up.
I was about to transition to that, bitch, because you take it away. Take it away. Talk to me.
Yeah, no, the initial lines, the Canes are at 8.5 wins. We obviously got the schedule a couple of weeks ago, so we already knew the opponents, but now we know how it's laid out with its let's just say not the best layout. With the 2 bye weeks in 3 weeks, and then the last 2 games on the road, it's very hard to. So, out of the first 10 games, 8 of them are at home, and then the last 2 games are on the road. So, it's an interesting schedule, but 8.5 is what they said it is. Rock and Rant said UF, everyone's kind of hyping them up, but then Vegas said it at 6.5 because they're not.
Vegas knows the truth.
Well, I mean, they're not good. So,
that's like saying
diplomatic.
FSU is going to be better. Yeah, they're probably going to be better. They won 2 games last year, so yeah.
This is very diplomatic. The layout sucks. It's a tough schedule. I mean, I don't know. I don't like it at all. That's my 2 cents on that.
I don't think the schedule's as hard as people think. It's the layout. It's the way it's scheduled.
It is hard to have.
It is a little tougher than last year's, but
have only 4. Well, to have only 4 road games and have them actually be your last 2 games is like intentional malfeasance levels of stuff. And then the bye weeks, 2 and 3 weeks is just insane. Like the reason they added extra bye weeks is to space them out because there's so many more games you have to play now, and then to put them within 2 weeks of each other is ridiculous.
And by the way, and I'm going to go on a little rant here about the teams that we do play in the schedule and why they're thinking that the schedule's going to be tougher. Look, I think first of all, you start off with Notre Dame, of course, but let's keep in mind, right? Like Notre Dame doesn't have Riley Leonard next year, right? It's a quarterback battle between 3 guys that have no playing time in college football. It's a blue. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the quarterbacks over at Notre Dame right now, but it's guys that you don't know much about. Jeremiah Love, I think, is going to enter the NFL. I would if I was him. Right, they're going to lose a ton of guys to the portal. They're going to gain a ton of guys, of course. They had a good recruiting class. They've been able to develop players, but they're losing a lot of guys from the national championship team.
Yeah,
It's gonna be a different team, right? It's gonna be
Yeah.
a different team. It's gonna be a different quarterback. That team, I know he didn't throw for 5,000 yards, but that team worked also because of Riley Leonard, the dynamic between Riley Leonard and Jeremiah Love. Those guys are not going to be there this year, right? They didn't throw the ball particularly well. Not to say they don't have guys out there, but they're going to get that guy back, whatever his last name is. So it's a Heather Coates or whatever the guy's name is. I forgot his name now. Steamboat or whatever. That kid, the kid that scored in the national championship, can't remember his last name now. That DJ's looking at us laughing because he knows what I'm talking about.
Steamboat.
What's his name?
No, I was saying Steamboat. It sounds like a 70s TV show.
Wait,
A
Greyhound?
love
Who?
boat.
What's his name? Great coach?
Which guy?
Wide receiver from Notre Dame.
Great House? Jaden.
Great House. There you go. You see? I was close.
And they
I was
have
like,
Jordan
what are you
Faison
doing
from
over here?
and Jordan Faison comes back and
Jordan Faison comes back. Right.
and the whole
They're
thing is
nice.
though, but their offensive line returns 5 guys.
Right.
So they're going to be, they're not going to be
It's gonna
what
be
they
good.
were this
That's
year.
gonna be
Like,
a good team. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the whole thing is like you said, Jeremiah Love will probably go, but they also have the kid Jadarian Price, who was a highly recruited guy a few years ago. Aeneas Williams. And then, obviously they're going to bring in a transfer portal quarterback, but they come back. CJ Carr, the kid that came in, Steve Angeli, who came in for
He's good, yeah.
one game
Not bad.
where he was hurt. They did well over the last couple of years getting quarterbacks, the Kenny Minchie kid, so they'll be fine. I mean, and they're not going to they're not going to pull a Florida State. That's for damn sure.
No, that's still going to be a very, very, very good team. I just think the good thing is you catch them at the first game of the season, right? So,
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing for both teams. I'm not so concerned. Like if we would have played them this year, I think they would have rocked us. But
Yeah.
I don't think they would have.
Come on. But that defense, absolutely, they would have rocked us.
I think
we score on everyone. We don't get rocked by anyone this year.
I think it would have been.
No one stopped our offense except when we did it. But even then, the games were like tight at the end. Like there was no.
It'd have been like 81-49 or something like that.
No, it would have been like 81-77 or whatever. All of our games are. No,
81-70.
We lost 2 games by 1 score. Like I don't know where this notion is that anyone will blow us out when we score a ton of points. It's very hard to do that.
Well, they did lose to Northern Illinois.
Well, you said they would have rocked us. I don't know that we would have won, but it would have. I mean, they lost to Northern Illinois. It wasn't.
Yeah, forget it.
We lost to Wake Forest.
Who cares? They lost to Northern Illinois. Game 2, and then they ended up with a national title. But I think,
and deservedly so. They won all their games. I'm not saying they were a bad team or anything, but I mean, you can line our offense again up against anyone, and it becomes a coin flip. And we won, and that's why we won some of the. Like we obviously could have lost to Cal easily. We could have lost to Virginia Tech. You get in those coin flips, you win half of them. We lost to Syracuse to the Georgia Tech ones, and won the Cal and Virginia Tech ones. I mean, that's if we had a defense, those wouldn't have been coin flips, and we would have gone undefeated. But we didn't have a defense, so. But I don't think anyone was blowing us out because how are they number 1 pick in the country? Let's shut them down. No one's shutting that man down.
No one's shutting our offense down.
Yeah, so we're going to keep scoring. So at least we've been competitive. But I think the big thing with the schedule this year is
if you give up 50, 60 points, you're getting your ass kicked no matter what.
You can still score 50.
I'm not saying that we would give up 60 points, but
no, but we won games having to score in the 40s. So that's the reality of it.
But our luck ran out after a while because
so obviously the plan this year is to actually play defense. But I think the big difference with the schedule this year is we swapped out Ball State for Notre Dame, and that's why people think it's a lot harder.
Right.
Because everything else kind of lines
Gators,
up.
I don't know why everybody's so up on the Gators. Yeah, they have them at 6.5 wins. DJ Lagway, I think, still is undetermined. It's still to be determined on whether
10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He's probably the most overhyped player in the country.
Yeah, I think he is overhyped. I think he's good, but didn't he throw 9 picks? Wasn't it 12-9?
Who is the overhyped?
DJ Lagway.
No.
12-9, I think, is what it was. I mean,
I think when the expectation,
They did a good
They-
job in the transfer portal and in recruiting. As
Well, no, I mean their season started off so poorly when they won a couple of games against teams that weren't very good. It got overhyped a bit. That's the reality of it. I
I'd
mean,
take DJ Lagway in a heartbeat.
I think he's talented.
Honestly, I would too. I
He
would
was a
too.
freshman
because-
last year who came in and almost beat. I mean, let's face it, the schedule that they played was a pretty tough schedule.
Yeah,
He did pretty
that was a
damn
rough
good.
schedule.
He did pretty damn good.
He did. He's got a lot of upside and a lot of raw talent. I would take him in a heartbeat.
He doesn't
as well.
get hurt. They beat Tennessee. He was the Georgia game. I mean, listen, I'm not gonna. I'll take shots at Florida, but right now Miami don't have a quarterback that's near what he is. I mean, we're not gonna.
So he played Tennessee. He played the whole game. They lost. There's some mismanagement by our friend Napier there at the end that probably could have prevented that.
But I'm just saying, I'm not anointing him as a Heisman, but to say that he's overrated, I don't agree.
No, I don't think he's overrated.
either.
I just think that he's I think it's still yet to be determined how good he can be. I think
I'll tell you why he's overrated.
he was
Because
very up and down last year.
the way he is spoken about. If I told you he threw 12 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, that does not line up to the way he's been spoken about.
But he's a freshman with that schedule.
Right, but he's got first of all, again, the schedule got easier after they played us because we beat the crap out of them. I don't know these low-ranked SEC teams that they overrate aren't actually that good. I think they benefit from that a lot. We saw that throughout the postseason. NIL has evened that playing field. People have mentally adjusted to the fact that just because you have an SEC logo, there's other people playing players too now, legally. So their competitive advantage of cheating is gone. And so you're seeing that field narrow up. He had some good moments and bad moments, but he's got a lot of maturing to do to meet the expectations people are setting for him and the way he's being talked about. That's what I'm saying. If he has a 4-3 touchdown to interception ratio this year, is that good? That's what he did last year. And I understand as a freshman, there's an expectation of learning curve and improvement, but he hasn't shown it yet. And the level of hype is like as if he put up Cam's numbers.
I will tell you this,
and that's why I say it's the hype is not meeting the performance.
If it wasn't Carson Beck in the transfer portal, if DJ Lagway would have ended up in the transfer portal, he probably would have been the number one quarterback in the portal because everybody would have wanted him based off of projectability. But yeah, he still has to show it a little bit more.
12 touchdowns, 9 interceptions.
Yeah, he still it's projectability, and I hate
I'll
to say
take
it.
it.
I know he's the best player in the country, but Cam Ward threw 39 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, and they're talking about them in the same breath, and I'm like, this is idiotic.
Well, I don't know about all that.
That is the level of hype they're putting on this kid.
Yeah, but nobody's saying DJ Lagway could be Heisman level.
No. Oh, I mean, I think you should probably check some of these season previews.
Oh yeah, some are saying that he's
in the Heisman conversation. I'm like, we haven't seen anything relate to that. When you ask this question, how are people putting him in the top 10 when they're set at 6.5? It's because of that. There are people that think he's the second coming of Jesus. That's showed up
because
there.
they won some games
and hyping him that way.
They should have won last year too, right? I mean, the LSU did they beat LSU? They beat LSU, right? They beat LSU. They beat and look, Garrett Nussmeier's coming in as a Heisman hopeful this year as well as one of the top quarterbacks in the country. So that's probably going to be a really good team this year too. So some of the teams that he did beat are pretty good. I think are going to be even better this year. So I think it's I mean, we'll see. He should be better this year, right? That's the consensus that he's going to be that guy. He's going to be that dude. Can Florida have the players around him? That's the biggest question mark. Do they have the dudes around him to be able to be successful with him throwing the ball and running the football? I'm not sure. I know they recruited well. I know the transfer portal pretty decent. But then again, Vish, you mentioned it, right? Billy Napier. How good of a coach is he, or is he going to screw everything up for that team?
I don't think there's much. I think they're going to implode. They're not very good.
That's a big question. Can they?
I don't think it's just him.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think it's a bad team.
I don't think they're a bad team, but I don't think they're a good team. I think they're going to finish right around where they did this year.
I think 6.5 is good for them
because I think when you look at their schedule last year, everyone thought it was weird because the game showed up some harder, some not, but they did play Mississippi State, who was terrible. Kentucky was terrible. Florida State ended up being one of the worst teams in the country. That's 3 of their wins. There's FCF games, of course. So then you start stacking those. It's like, they went 8-4 against before the season. Everyone's like, man, you got to play FSU and Mississippi State should be pretty good. Remember, Kentucky was ranked. Those teams end up being dog shit. And so I think, again, I'm not saying they're bad. No, they did. They lost. They beat LSU and they beat Ole Miss. Those are definitely their 2 good wins. Right. And then, I don't know how you rate like UCF and stuff. That was one of their wins. So, I mean, there was a lot of like projected toughness that wasn't there on their schedule. I'm not saying the schedule wasn't tough. It wasn't, people coming in are like, they're going to win like 2 or 3 games. And they obviously did way better than that. Part of that is they were better than people thought, including myself. They were definitely better than I thought they were. Yeah. Especially after we walked them out of their own stadium at the first game. I was like, man, this team is really bad. They actually were pretty good.
Yeah.
Like you said, they're pretty good. But then also the schedule turned out to be a lot easier than people thought it was going to be because remember, Florida State was a top 10 team and they're like, oh man, they're not going to win a game after the second game or what. Turns out Florida State.
About Vegas, I don't know what the hell they were doing.
Yeah, so I think it's both things there. But I don't know if they're going to be that much better than last year.
Right.
And so I think they'll probably land in about this. I think I would take the over as much as I'm being negative on them. I think 6.5 is a little low, but 7, 8 feels right.
That receiving core is going to be stupid.
Yeah, I think receiving core is going to be good if.
Yeah, I think we disagree on the quality of the person throwing the ball to them.
I think where their issue might be, Blue, is in the offensive line. Can the offensive line be good? Their offensive line was pretty shitty last year. I know they got some new guys in there, but their offensive line was bad. So, as we've spoken about, right, that front 4 on the offense or the front 5 of the offense, on defense or the front 5 of the offensive line can tell you a lot about that team. If they don't give them enough time to throw the ball to those good receivers, it's not going to matter one bit. But I will say this: I think that 6.5 is a good line for them. Speaking of that, 8.5 is the line for Miami, as we mentioned earlier. And I know I'm typically, and this is not actually, I'm not being negative, but I think it's a good line, right? Because I think Miami wins more games at 8. A 9-3 season is something that a lot of people could see. I think they win another 10 games this year. I think that they have a couple, 10 games or more is obviously where they need to be to compete in the playoffs. But it's a tougher schedule, not teams that they're playing. It's a tougher schedule. So it might make it tough for them. However, it's a good team. They've put together a nice, solid team again. They've got one of the best offensive lines in the country. Is 8.5 right where you thought they would be, DJ?
Yes, because you got a lot of new faces. On offense, you have Carson Beck. On the defensive side of the football, you have a new defensive coordinator, a new group of players, new secondary. So there's a lot of new faces. With that being said, do I think the defense will be better than last year? Absolutely. Do I think the quarterback play will be better than last year? No, but that's because you had a generational talent in Keon Moore. I mean, that's not a shot at Carson Beck. I think Carson Beck can be really good provided he heals from his injury. And I know I've said I'm not a fan of him, but if you surround him with talent, he's going to be really good. And I think Miami has a really solid wide receiver core. So I do think this team can be pretty good. There's just a lot of unknowns right now until we see them on the field, right? And so yeah. I think 8, 9 wins. I'm predicting 9-3. I think that's solid.
Blue, you think 8.5 is a good line for Vegas right now?
Yeah, I ain't giving my damn prediction now. No one will listen to me the rest of the offseason.
Yes, it's too early for the predictions, DJ.
No. I don't want a prediction. I just want to.
I saw DJ's face. Hey, listen, I want to be in a poker game with your ass, man. You got no poker face at all. You came with it.
Hey, you know what? I'm ready. I'm show prepped. That's the problem.
What do you think?
That's another violation. You did the predictions too early and you show prepped. That's
yeah.
Wow. Vegas okay on that
Those are 2 cardinal sins right there.
That's illegal on this show, DJ. You can't do that.
I know. I got to straighten up a little bit.
You can't have anything prepared. That breaks all the rules. You know what, Jazz, I looking at their schedule, yeah, I think it's fair what they, right now. We'll see. I mean, the road games bother me because Miami didn't play great on the road last year. I mean, the 2 game, I mean, obviously Cal, that was a present, that game, really. You play that 9 out of 10 times and you're in that scenario, you don't win. So that's a win that we all know. Syracuse just is crazy. Louisville could have gone either way, right? It was right down to the wire. So it bothers me, the SMU. It bothers me, Virginia Tech. Obviously, Pittsburgh. Those are tough games. Those are tough games, and those are 3 tough games, and that's not counting Florida or Notre Dame. I think Miami will handle business at home.
It's good because we have 8 home games.
Yeah, well, that means that they'll have 8 wins, so they're going to have to come up with 1 more on the road. So
right, and it's true.
But so I think that's what they're basing it on. The over/under on the 8 home games. So with that, but they can't lose a home game. No, you can't. And
I'm with you, man. I think that it's 4 tough road games.
Yeah.
Pitt's a tough road game for all these teams. You go up there and you play. It's always tough for us. Virginia Tech is one of the toughest places to play in college football, if you ask me. Especially if they play at night. If they play during the day, I think that Miami can kick their ass.
I definitely agree.
A night game in Blacksburg is always a different thing, right? It's like that's a different atmosphere. It's a different animal. So that's always a tough game. And you saw what they did. Obviously, we had a crappy defense this year, but we had to squeeze one out on a play that could have gone either way. Thank God.
Yeah. And Vish will be up there breaking the Enter Sandman code. So if it's at night,
yeah, for sure, right in the middle of nowhere out there in Blacksburg.
Yeah, that place is such a nightmare to get to. I don't know if anyone else has been.
That's half of it. That's half the battle, right? Getting there. So
it's near nothing.
What are the other 2 road games? NC State, right?
Yeah,
SMU.
It's SMU, Virginia Tech, Pitt, Florida State.
Oh, Florida State. I'm sorry. Okay, Florida State. So Florida State, Doak Campbell. I mean, they're going to be a better team. How good are they going to be? I don't know how good. Better doesn't mean they're going to be good. Just better means they're going to be better than 2 wins, I think. So I think that Miami can take care of business there. But it's a rivalry game away. So and then the other one you said SMU-ish in Dallas. I don't think SMU is what they were this year. I know they got Jennings back, but they lost a lot of that talent that they had.
I swear to God, if Chris Johnson runs a kickoff back for a touchdown,
my God,
I am just done.
I'm jumping out the damn window.
I'm done. It's over. Then it's over. I'm not putting up with that.
We will not want to have that show, man.
If he kicks the ball, cuts back, runs the daylight,
tackle. Oh my God, that would be brutal, man. Yeah, 8.5, I think is a solid start.
I think it's actually a little bit low just because of what Blue said. A lot's to be determined. I do think our harder games overall, there's some exceptions, are at home. But you look at, definitely I think Notre Dame and Florida are probably the 2 toughest games on our schedule. We get them at home. The next one after that, might be Louisville or Syracuse. Those are all at home too. So I don't know. Florida State got Castellanos, so I was never really impressed with him at Boston College. We'll see what Norvell can do with him, but I think they'll be better. I don't think they'll necessarily be good. If I had to swap that and, with one of the other, I'd rather play that on the road than, some of these other ones. They'd go to Louisville again, for example. Some of these other ones I think are trickier. So then you start looking at 8.5. If they take care of home field, that's already 8. It's hard to see them going 0-4 on the road. So it feels okay in terms of the home road split. I will say one positive for the way the schedule is set up with all these home. It is home heavy. We usually do not play 8 home games, so it's more home games. But getting them at the beginning and mostly all them out of conference. The way as we found out this way, the way that the system is now, there's a couple of opportunities in the out of conference to build an at-large resume. But let's say slow start or whatever, lose to Notre Dame. Doesn't really matter. It's not a conference game. And so you have these like real live competition games to work some stuff out before you head to Florida State, which is actually the first ACC game. And worst case scenario, if you drop a game or two, you still got the whole ACC schedule in front of you to win the conference and go to the playoffs with a bye, probably, right? So, I mean, I think in that sense, not having – because, depending on the season, sometimes they wedge those early season conference games in there. I think not having that, but playing two big-time games before you get to conference play is a really good thing for this team with, Carson Beck having to figure out, get used to playing game action again and hopefully, knock on wood, us shifting to a little bit more of running the football and actually playing defense. And that tends to travel. I think one of the reasons we struggled so much on the road last year, because as Blue said, even in the wins, I mean, Cal, I mean, I was there. That could have very easily, confidence wasn't high in the third quarter, let me put it that way. So, I think one of the reasons is when you can't run, we could have run the ball, but when you don't consistently commit to running the ball and you don't play defense, it's so much harder to win on the road.
Yeah.
As much as, Cam's the best player in the country, he's going to be the number one pick in the draft, and he's capable of making every play, and he did against Cal, which is how we won the game in the end. That is zero margin for error football. When you can run the ball, you can play some defense, your margin for error just increases, and that's how you actually win consistently on the road. So getting those games at home at the beginning to work through some of that, hopefully be a more run-heavy team. The easiest thing to do in football, if you can do it, is we're going to run the ball down your throat even though we're going to run it. You can't stop it. Like we were doing to Iowa State until we stopped ourselves.
Yeah.
And we absolutely have the ability to do that. We have the best offensive line coach in the country. We have a lot of offensive line how we have great running back talent. And I think working through that, though, because the running game got to a little bit of a slow start this year as well, and then once it started getting in gear, so kind of having those early season games and being able to do that, I think is really positive. Because again, those are a little bit of free swing games. Obviously, you want to win every game, but so much emphasis on the conference now. Like that UF win to start the year last year ended up doing nothing for us. Would have rather beat Syracuse, right? And that's the reality of it. So getting those games at the beginning, having an opportunity to work through it.
Perspective changes throughout the season, so it's tough to.
Yeah, but just getting look, Notre Dame and UF, we can say whatever we want about them, but like those are big time programs. So you get to play them before you hit your conference, work through whatever issues you have, and really be ready for conference play. Because there's a bye going into conference play too, so you can kind of almost reset and be like, all right, I'll get serious, and then plow through those 8 games. So I do think in that sense the schedule setup isn't that bad.
I want to flip the script a little bit, Vish, if you allow me, and direct it towards Blue anyways. Because Blue, a lot of people don't know this. If you're on the show, if you're watching the show now, everybody knows Blue is an encyclopedia of knowledge when it comes to high school football, college football, professional football, all that stuff. What you don't know is that Blue knows that times 10 when it comes to baseball. And so I want to talk to you about baseball a little bit, Blue, because I hate – look at that. UNLV baseball, baby. He's even representing on the show. I'm just representing USA baseball. But, Blue, we haven't really gotten your take on Miami baseball. I don't know how closely you follow them. But look, and I was just looking at something now, and I was really disappointed by it. That's why I don't know if you guys saw me shaking my head, but I saw the D1 composite rankings and that they finally came out with the top 25. First of all, you got a top – and before we get to that, I'm sorry, I'm going to rant again really quick here. You got Florida ranked 10th in the country right now, and they were 36 and 30 last year. Nobody else in the top 25, aside from Stanford, which I'll get to in a second, has more than 23 or 24 losses that are ranked in the top 25. Okay, let's just say that right now. They're ranked 10th. This is the kind of bias that I hate that the Florida Gators always get. They sucked last year. They suck. I know they got into the tournament. They got hot at the end, but they sucked last year. For most of that, they went 36-30. I know they got into the tournament. They reached the finals. Well, I get it. I understand. But damn, 10. That's tough to put them in the top 10 after finishing 36-30. They lost a lot of guys to the draft as well. But then you talk about finishing in the top 25. Stanford. By the way, a lot of the teams that are in the top 25, Miami plays this season. Including Stanford. We play, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Vish, we play Stanford this season in baseball. They're ranked in the top 25. They're ranked number 25 in the country. They finished 22-33 last season, worse than the Hurricanes, and they're ranked in the top 25 as well. I know we're not supposed to care that much about rankings right now because baseball can change so much, and you'll see so many different teams. But it drives me wild to see some of this stuff.
But
we don't play Stanford, by the way.
We don't.
You do play Stanford?
We don't. No, we don't.
Oh, you don't. Okay, I can answer this real quickly by looking at Alabama and Georgia with 7 combined football losses, but both being in the top 20 at the end of the year. It goes on reputation. Florida, and then, I know that you guys hate to hear that, and I got to be fair. Florida's been a great baseball program for the last 10 to 15 years. National champions, SEC titleists. So what they're doing is they're projecting. Plus, they had a really good recruiting class, and they added 4 really key portal kids, including one of Miami's best. So that's the only reason why. And you're 100% right. But in the Miami-Florida situation, it's tough to compare those teams. Now, with Stanford, it is unusual. I mean, even though they have been a great program throughout the years in the Pac-12, I think when you lose 30-something games, you kind of got to prove yourself, the following year. I think Miami will take care of themselves. I know Niagara is not the best in the world, but as gentlemen before pointed out, they did make the tournament last year. Miami usually has that schedule. They did make the tournament last year. I mean, actually, if buddy of mine's kid will be pitching Saturday, Johnny Montgomery, for them, for Niagara. He's from DeLand. Cool. How far it goes ever, this time of year. I mean, you guys know, you've seen early season when teams like Colby College from Maine and all those other, even Rutgers, they come down, those pitchers go 2 innings at the most. Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's really tough for them. And yeah, I miss kind of Rutgers coming down and being the opening game. They were like the opening game for a few years, and actually off of that last year, after that last year, San Diego Padres AAA center fielder is from here, from Fort Lauderdale, former DB. Yeah, he's a AAA center fielder. He was on that Rutgers team that played Miami. I miss those early season games, against those teams from up north. Now you got Niagara. Miami always has a competitive schedule because let's face it, the ACC, once you get into that schedule, there's no easy games. None. There's no.
They play Virginia, who's the number 2 team in the country right now, ranked. They play Florida State. They play Florida. They play North Carolina, a top 15 program. Duke, a top 15
NC State.
Program. NC State's a top 20 program. I don't know if they play Wake Forest this year.
Clemson's always in that upper tier.
I don't think we play them this year, but Clemson, Wake Forest.
Georgia Tech's always got kids. Yep. No, so to me, Miami's going to be able to take care of business. They're going to be, because remember, if they go to Chapel Hill and they sweep 2 out of 3, that's going to boost them up, because they're playing but the whole thing is Stanford may be bringing back 94%. Yeah,
only CCAs can know that obscure ass percentage of 94% of their roster.
But if you lose 33 games. That's not really something to brag about. So
you brought back 94% of the guys that lost 33 games. Cool, man.
Yeah, and I don't know if they bring back, especially with the portal, nobody's bringing back 94% of their roster. Look at Miami. Miami brings back like 25% of their roster.
Right.
Well, they got those younger kids. Yeah,
they got some younger kids. They had a good recruiting class, but they also had a really good portal class. I think their portal class is sneaky with some of the guys that are up. I mean, Griffin Hughes is going to be a big addition. He's in the starting rotation. You got, as we mentioned, Jackson closing, but you've got other kids like Reese Lumpkin and Will Smith. And, I mean, it's hard to mention all of them. And then some guys that came back from last year. Alex Staniak, I think, is going to have, Jesus Christ.
This Canes cat guy is cracking me up.
Yeah, he's something else. He's something else. Let's just put it that way.
And you're bringing back the
Tanner
best Japanese prospects since Ohtani.
Listen, Blue, you brought in Tanner Smith, who is probably one of the best catchers in the country. I don't know, is he going to be able to hit? That's the biggest question mark. But great behind the dish, so he's going to be able to really help that pitching staff do great. And then you've got some young guys. Nolan Johnson is another catcher that I think has got some skill, and Max Galvin is potentially his second best hitter in that lineup behind Cuvée. And then of course Dorian coming back was huge. So you've got some talent. I think the lineup's going to be able to hit. I think there's two guys that are question marked, and that's Tanner Smith and Mikey Torres / Fabio Peralta, whoever's going to get the nod there at center field. It's going to be interesting to see how they put it all together. My biggest concern is the chemistry. That's awesome, obviously, but at the end of the day, my big concern is a tough word. I don't want to say concern, but my biggest question mark on how they manage the rotation and the staff. Right? Is this going to be one of those pro style staffs, or is it going to be where they're going to be able to trust, Nick Robert and Brian Walters and those guys to go 6 or 7 innings? I think especially at the beginning of the season, you won't see them go more than 4 or 5 to preserve their arms. But are you going to see some other guys that are going to come in and throw 2 or 3 innings as well and kind of have like that professional type of rotation? I think that's going to be a big question mark because you have so many good arms. You got some good young arms, and guys like Lachi Calera, and Staniak and Tate Duriz. But you also have some really good older arms like Lumpkin and Will Smith and Hughes and Jackson. So you got some of those older arms as well, some vet arms. So it's going to be interesting to see how they put it all together. We'll see. I hope to see you at some of these games, Blue. Are you going to come out to some of the baseball games with Vish and I?
Yeah,
or what?
I am. I'd love to come out to a game or so. And
Awesome.
yeah, well, I love the baseball games and just listening with Kane's cat. Yeah, I heard about the kid Rentaro. He's
good. He's good. He's
football looking kid. I think he's like 270 something pounds.
Is he? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, he's a first baseman. He's a big ass kid.
He's got like 95 off the bump or something like that.
Yeah, but also he plays first base and he's a big guy. And I don't know if I compare him to Ohtani just yet. I mean, but I'm sure he'll be fine. But he's right. UNLV's got Indiana and Oregon State this weekend in a tournament, so that's not going to be easier. So, but that's it. So I know you wanted to get out of here, but I do have a really good show and tell today.
I was about to say we can't get out of here yet.
Yeah, we're not going anywhere.
No, you were saying last. This is gonna be a short show, and it's already 9:30.
Yeah, never mind. Forget about that.
It's never a short show.
I'm gonna bring you back to 1984. This is one of these games. Obviously, it was at South Bend, a 7:30 night game. Notre Dame was 16 in the nation. And Miami went in there and took care of the business 31-13. And
boom, look at that guy.
Yeah. So
that's 1984. It looks like 1964.
Yeah, no kidding.
No, it says 1984.
No, I know it is. It is. You can see it.
It was a Miami win. I got
Who's that guy in the cover?
I actually went to the game.
That's no Vinny Testaverde.
So I got the you forgot you didn't have the media back in here.
Let me see.
I went to the game there, Vish, and I got this little depth chart here.
Oh wow, look at that. Who's the starting quarterback in '84?
You know who the great Bernie coach.
Bernie, right? Yeah.
That's right, Bernie.
This Vinny Testaverde was his backup.
That's right.
This guys is really I mean, I know this was the Hale Flutie year and a Frank Reich year when they lost in that crazy ass game to Maryland, and then they lost in a bowl game to UCLA. But that was a really good football program. That was they started out the year doing extremely well, and they had a lot of talent. And I think 11 guys off of that team went to the bigs. So,
Wow.
I mean, went to professional football. So it's going to be interesting to see what
Coaches
happens.
in the NFL Hall of Fame. So yeah.
Yeah, some of them did all right.
Yeah.
That was cool. We appreciate it. Vish, we'll have buckets this week for you guys. Will have buckets. This week?
Yeah, Wednesday. The men actually play tomorrow,
Gotcha.
and then we'll do buckets Wednesday.
All right. And
Was that a good weekend for the hoops program? But
no,
I mean, when is it? So
we'll have some Kings on deck sometime next week or maybe this weekend. Who knows? We'll figure something out.
We'll definitely get it in there. Yeah.
We'll get it in and we'll talk about it and then next
Although
week.
I feel like we did just get it in.
We'll figure something out.
No one thinks of the editor when you go off script like that.
Following week, what? Following week is an away an FIU game.
No, it's let me see. I know the weekend series is Princeton. Yeah, we're at FAU, and you're right.
At FAU and then Princeton.
Princeton.
Is that a middle week game, FAU?
Yep. Tuesday, the 18th.
Yeah, because we play Princeton Thursday through Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's a doubleheader on Saturday. It's 4 games, but it's a doubleheader on Saturday.
Gotcha. Well,
and then the following week, Florida on the road.
Ooh.
Nice.
And
We'll be at Princeton. If I'm up in the Orlando area, I might jet over to Gainesville for a game the following week. That would be fun. Or Jacksonville. If I'm up in Jacksonville, just come down real quick. Not too far, right? How far is Gainesville from Orlando or Jacksonville?
From Gainesville?
Oh, yeah, Orlando to Gainesville.
Hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes.
Jacksonville to Gainesville.
220.
220. It's a little further than I expected. Okay.
Let's say it's about an hour to Daytona, about 2 hours.
When we say middle of nowhere, Jazz, that means middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I know. I'm in Ocala. I'm in the middle of nowhere this week.
I know. Too bad. That would have been just a hop over it again. That would have been perfect if you were doing that this week. Yeah, doing that if we were playing you up this week, that would have been easy. Been right there.
I know. All right, fellas. Well, we'll see you guys. We'll see you guys next week then.
Yes, we'll be there, and DJ's going to actually say a word or two next week. And
DJ, baseball plays at Fenway when we go to play Boston College.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they play one game at Fenway, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. You gonna come up for it, or are you just gonna stay in Florida?
It's in May, right? I think it's in May.
It's last weekend of April.
Last weekend of April.
Might be the best baseball Fenway sees this year, so you never know.
Yeah.
I think the Red Sox are gonna be good, man.
You never know. They started off well, and then they sharp downturn.
Second half better. Lineup is better. I think they'll be all right.
Didn't spend a lot of money in the off season, but what the hell, you know?
Well, my birthday's in May, and I might go up there just to watch them play a little bit. I want to go. I want to go to Fenway for my birthday. So if I go, it might be at the beginning because the weekend of my birthday they're away, so it's going to be before or after. So maybe I'll go. We'll see.
Let me know.
Okay, that's good.
There you go. Yeah. All right, my peoples. Well, it was good. We'll see you guys next Monday. Adios.
Adios.
The 6 Rig Kane Show. Yeah. The 6 Rig Kane Show. Yeah. The 6 Rings Kane Show. You know.